house of Jacob, the house shall be a fire, the house of Esau shall be stubble.
US. But the LGBTQ community still faces threats in the form of legislation, discrimination, and even violence. 50 years ago, the New York City police raided Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in Greenwich Village. Riots broke out, sparking 6 days of violent protests, known as the Stonewall Riots. Days after the Stonewall Uprising, LGBTQ rights demonstrations took place in New York. This is generally considered the first major demonstration for gay rights. 1 year later, in 1970, came the first Pride marches. 8 years after that, the iconic six-striped rainbow flag was created at the request of activist Harvey Milk and became the stamp of pride. In 2015 came another milestone. The Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. But this didn't mean the end of discrimination. The Human Rights Campaign says at least 128 transgender people have been killed in 32 states and 87 cities since 2013. And 80% were people of color. And 80% were people of color. And 80% were people of color. In the US, LGBTQ Americans still face legalized discrimination when it comes to housing, jobs, healthcare, parenting, and even prison. Most states still lack laws banning discrimination based on sexual orientation, and bills that would curtail gay rights keep appearing. And 80% were people of color. And 80% were people of color. And 80% were people.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rika Hakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. Peace to the elect. Okay, I want to touch on this video. Also, shalom to the families that's following and so forth. I want to touch on this video. This came to my mind, okay, my spirit. With this Black Lives Matter, this is the big issue, okay, that's going on. Okay, and we all know that any of these funded organizations is set up by the elites. You know, if you don't know that, it would be wise to do your research and figure it out for yourself. But, you know, I'm here to, through the Spirit, to show you that the Black Lives Matter. And, well, first let's go to who it was started by, okay? Now, I don't at all believe that these women just all of a sudden woke up one day and they made some, you know, got something together, and they got together and decided that they were going to start a Black Lives Matter movement. Maybe they did, okay? But eventually they were funded, you know. Now, I can get up and we can make up any kind of social event, social construct, and put it together. And I guarantee you, George Soros, who anybody don't know, he's a Jewish man that funds it, along with the Ford Foundation. I doubt if they'll be knocking on the door wanting to help fund me through this event. Okay? It's all Masonic controlled. Okay? I'll also show you, well, let's read a little bit first. Okay? It says, Black Lives Matter is an ideological and political intervention in the world where black lives are systematically and intentionally targeted for demise. Okay? Now, if they was really serious for Black Lives Matter, they would also stand in front of these abortion clinics and protest for Black Lives Matter as well. Anyway, it says, in fact, the person, I can't remember the people that was involved in that, Roe versus Wade or whatever, said they were paid off to fight. The woman was paid off to fight to be anti-abortionist, you know. It goes on to say, it is an affirmation of black folks' humanity, our contributors, our contributions to this society, and our resilience in face of deadly oppression. As let me say, it's these three women here. Okay, I don't know their names. Okay, it says, as organizers who worked with everyday people, Black Lives Matter see and understand significant gaps and moment, spaces, and leaderships. Okay, let me go back up here. Before I go forth, I just wanted to check out. Okay, this started in 2013. Alicia Garza, these are the names. Patrice Cullors and Opal Tometi. I don't, Anyway, these are the three black women that had the great influence of starting Black Lives Matter. Okay. Let me go on, and you'll find out that this was really not for the young so-called black men in the street. I mean, it was supposed to be. That was the front. Okay. It says, as Black Lives Matter developed through 2013-2014, we utilized it as a platform. Okay. Well, let me go on up here. As organizers who work with everyday people, Black Lives Matter see and understand significant gaps in moment, spaces, and leadership. Black liberation movements in the country have created room, space, and leadership mostly for black heterosexual cisgender men. I never heard of that. Leaving women, okay, black heterosexual leaving women. So we can see where this is going. Queer and transgender people and others either out of the movement or in the background to move the work forward with little or no recognition. So this Black Lives Matter so-called started with the targeting of so-called black men in the street, but really this movement was to uplift queer, transgender, and these type of people. Okay, flamos. Okay. It says, as a network, we have always recognized the need to center the leadership of women and queer and trans people to maximize our movement muscle and to be intentional about not replicating harmful practices that included so many in the past. So in other words, I always had a question. Got into it with a couple of guys. One guy at camp in particular. We asked him, if Black Lives Matter so much, why don't y'all march and protest when it comes to, Jake shooting themselves in the street? Okay, and he replied, well, there is some protesters and march about it, but that's not the case. Black lives only matter when a so-called white cop shoots a black man. But when I did further research, I found that Black Lives Matter was really a movement for feminism. Okay, notice there's no men here. The men are the ones getting gunned down. These young men are getting gunned down, right? They're the ones being blown away in the street, but somehow these women are leading the movement. This sounds like a Netflix show where all the so-called women are superheroes, okay? And that's what they're painting this, okay? And these women are set up, okay, to bring in these other conditions of Black Lives Matter. So really, when these young black men are getting blown away in the street, that wasn't the concern. That's why you don't see the marches. But in Black Lives Matter, you'll see rights for feminism, for women, black women, okay, queer, transgender. That's what Black Lives Matter is for. This also explains why the Ford Foundation, the Fords, and George Soros supports it. This was never really about uplifting the black man. This is about uplifting women and other women of genders, different kinds of genders. I don't know. You get the point. That's what this was all about. And uplifting men who goes the other way. So we understand the psyopses and the fakeness of some of these situations that's happening. This is all a different movement. This has nothing to do with my so-called life or the average so-called black man in the street. Okay? This is a whole lot bigger than that. And what they're doing, these elites, what they're doing is they're using racism to capitalize on pushing feminism, transgenderism, and every other ism of emasculating, demasculating, whatever you want to call the male, mainly the black male. Anyway, let's go to 2 Corinthians 11:3. But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, okay, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Yahushua, the simpleness of knowing this truth. A woman will corrupt you. So there's no Israelite who claims to be an Israelite should be involved in Black Lives Matter, which I'm pretty sure there isn't. Okay? If this place is so damn racist, which it is, that they see these situations happening and they're racist as they are, why would they fund these groups? No different than they funded Jesse Jackson, no different than they funded Al Sharpton, Martin Luther King, and various other so-called great black male leaders. Well, now this is Babylon. They went to the woman. And you'll find that they had an old saying, for every great man there was a great woman. You'll find that all these people was pretty much funded. The woman was pretty much set up. Even in the feminist movement, they had these women set up that men set these women up. Okay? Now, when you go to the Tuskegee air event with the pilots, the airmen so-called black men shot up with syphilis, there's this woman here named Eunice Rivers who was responsible, okay, from this man, Idumean. She was responsible through him to shoot these young jakes up with syphilis. Now, inadvertently, you had the majority of our women who are playing a practice of Eunice Rivers, right? You know, when you become a mother and you have children and they have to go to schools, the first thing you're thinking, you're not even questioning, they need their vaccinations, okay? And they'll send them in and they'll get them shot up with vaccines instead of going into a different alternative of health and healing. Okay? Now let's go to Genesis. I'll read a little bit of this. 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh have made. Okay? So this also proves that this man that runs this, the Most High created all this. This is why the Most High said, I created good and evil. Okay? It wasn't Satan coming from underground, you know, just creating evil. The Most High created that, you know. And he said unto the woman, God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Okay? And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Okay? And this is the same thing when we get these vaccines, you know, and you ask a nurse or whatever about it, they're going to tell you, no, it's good for you. Now, all these things we're doing for you is good for you. Black Lives Matter, it's good for you. It says, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband. Okay, and they did eat. Okay, I just wanted to get to the point. Okay, you know, this is why this man sets up women. He always set up women to do his bidding. Okay, and especially our women. Okay, especially to our community. The best way to get us is through our women. You know, we've always known that. We've always seen that. And this is what he does. So let's go. I want to get another clip article, part of the article, short article. I read this in the previous video I've done. The Ford Foundation Barillis Philanthropy recently announced the foundation of the Black LED Movement Fund, Black Lives Matter Fund, a 6-year pool donation campaign aimed at raising $100 million for the movement for Black Lives Matter. So these women got paid, okay? Okay, the funding comes in addition to more than $33 million in grants to the Black Lives Matter movement from George Soros through his Open Society Foundations, as well as grant making from the Center of the American Progress. So as I said before, why would George Soros, or why would these elites, these top bankers, fund Black Lives Matter? Because it's a bigger picture, okay? How would they know? What happened to Floyd Mayweather, you know? What happened to these other so-called great leaders, or let's say rich athletes and rich people, black people? Why aren't they allowed to fund that? Okay? Because whoever controls an organization, whoever controls the money and funds the money, control the people. And it's really simple. So once you control this organization, you can dictate how you want it to go. This is playing both sides of the coin, okay? So these guys, obviously they're funding it just like they funded a lot of these mafias. Also the Bloods and the Crips, the Black Guerrilla family, you know? Because out of these things, they're smart enough to know once you put that money into something, you control it, we pretty much tell you what to do. The NAACP, the BET, these churches set up by the TBN, and the list goes on. So really, there is no so-called black organizations. You know, this world was given to the wicked, and these people just can't see it. And this is not a setup to uplift so-called the black man. You can hang that up. They've been doing a so-called bang-up job, literally. That's all I have on that. Shalom.